My own personal opinion, we made a terrible mistake 2 years ago by not allowing it to be destroyed. But that's my own personal opinion. One of the reasons I thought we should have folks look at it is that there were a lot of people, there were several members of the planning board had never been inside the facility. I'd been fortunate enough to have been in here several different times. There's tremendous opportunity, maybe. I don't know how you get creatively to that point that you can actually do that. And we're probably talking 60 to 80 million dollars to do something with a building like this because of some of the structural issues that are associated with it. And this stuff is obsolete. One of the reasons it's not working, it's been mothballed, is because it's not effective to use it. Every cubic foot of water you waste here, you could have generated much more electricity up on the other end.
Just background to this is an Albert Pound building. He was one of the premier architects of the 1920s. Early 1900s. He built a lot of Detroit. This is one of the early examples of concrete and steel construction. And they have rebar inside the concrete, and they were learning. And there's no expansion joints in the building. And when they were using the rebar, they weren't sealing it. And so part of the problem, you can see it more up above, is as the manufacturing process was very moist, that moisture would permeate the concrete, it would get at the rebar would start rusting, and now the rebar is expanding because of the rust, and that's putting pressure on the concrete, so we'll see spalling concrete. What we see here are actually Spanish tiles that they were using. That's what's supporting the floor up above it, but it was a lighter weight way to do it.
We're not probably going to find somebody that's going to put $60 to $80 million into this building. But if we found 6 people that were willing to put $10 million buildings in new buildings, energy efficient buildings, we'd have a lot more development and a lot more jobs than what you could do with this. This thing has tremendous constraints to it. And I think that's, I guess from my own standpoint, from the planning board and everything else, he says my biggest problem is that we need to admit that this is post-industrial revolution obsolescence. It's been allowed to deteriorate, probably beyond effective repair. Now we need to talk about adaptive reuse of the land, not necessarily of the building. Not every old building needs to be saved. I mean, buildings get to a point where they're not, it's ineffective and inefficient to attempt to reuse them.
Don't make me cry.
So there's a lot of things to play on.